it's such a tough business because there's a very fine line of how you manage your merchants,
Yeah.
like how much do you charge from them, and then how many drivers do you want on the platform or in a particular area, and then how do you price your products to the end customers, how much promotions do you give.
From the customer perspective, what is important? I think the most important piece over here is the time that the customer is saving. What do you think of the tipping culture in all this? Yeah.
Testing a feature where they are going to warn the customers that if they do not tip, then they might have a bad experience.
So let's go ahead with delivery wars.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Tech Banter episode 20. My name is Ankur. I am a tech professional based out of Seattle.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vishal. I'm a software engineer and I'm also based in Seattle. So, Ankur, what is the topic for today?
Today we are discussing about food delivery wars. I think all of our listeners have definitely used apps to deliver food or pick up food. So we are going to discuss that landscape and see how each of these players fare against each other. For the purpose of this discussion, we are going to keep it a little US specific. So we are going to talk about the major players in the food delivery space out of US. And the three companies that we are going to focus on would be Uber Eats, GrubHub, and DoorDash.
So, let's go ahead with delivery wars. So, by the way, as per our tradition, what are you drinking today?
I got myself some coffee. It was a busy day for me, so it's 10 p.m. here in Seattle. So I want to make sure that I stay high energy for this podcast. We are
Podcast.
obviously recording this podcast after a brief hiatus. Maybe we didn't record anything for almost 1 month. So I want to make sure that I am high on energy. So I have some coffee.
Cool.
What about you?
Today, I'm having some apple cider.
Nice.
Cool. So
Awesome.
let's chess and start the delivery
Get it
wars.
started. Cheers. I think before we start our discussion, it will be good to just go through each of these companies and give like a quick overview, uh, just so that like people have the context, and if somebody does not know a lot about one company, they can get some idea. So maybe like starting with Uber Eats. Uber Eats is obviously part of the larger Uber umbrella, the ride-hailing service. So Uber obviously started with the whole ride-share services, and then they added the food delivery service on top of it. So I found out that Uber Eats actually first started as Uber Fresh in 2014, and it was started by the then CEO Travis Kalanick, and that time already various other delivery food delivery services existed. So he was trying to find a differentiating factor for Uber food delivery business. So it actually started as not a service where you could just order from any restaurant, but it started as more of like a set menu that you could order, and it was built specifically for the tech employees of Silicon Valley. So every day it would have like a menu of like an entree, a salad, maybe a dessert, and it would be a very catered, hand selected menu you could order, and then it would basically get delivered during the lunch time. And Uber already had a lot of customers, a lot of drivers on its platform, and it was a good way for Uber to like kickstart this service. So it started as Uber Fresh, and later obviously it became Uber Eats, and they started catering to all the restaurants. So this was 2014, and uh, obviously it's a pretty big business, multi-billion-dollar business today. It's doing, I would say, like it's doing pretty good in terms. I was just looking at their financials. It seems to be doing well in terms of the profit. It's actually doing really, really well. The revenues are, I would say, growing at low double digit numbers, but the profits recently have been amazing as per their last
Right.
quarterly results. So that's Uber
So,
Eats.
so does Uber publish these numbers about what the ride-hailing service is doing and what
Yeah.
Uber Eats is doing? Okay,
Yeah, so the
and
Uber financials are broken down into three categories. So first one is the mobility, that the ride hailing services. The second one is their delivery, so food delivery, alcohol delivery, grocery
okay.
delivery business. And then the third one is their freight business, which is a very freight business is a very small part of their business, but they publish few of the numbers in terms of revenue and how much profit each of the categories are bringing to its overall business. So they publish that. So that's Uber. The second one, let's talk about DoorDash. So DoorDash started in 2013. Initially, the company was Palo Alto Delivery. It was started by, I think, three or four Stanford students as their startup idea. So what they focused on, that's again a super interesting one. Like they focused on like the restaurants that didn't get a lot of love from the delivery providers during that time. So they would actually target food trucks or very lesser known restaurants that didn't have, they had great food maybe, but not a lot of customers. They are trying to grow. So that's how they kickstarted their business. They would like create menus and delivery for these food trucks, etc. That helped them kickstart the business, but then they realized that they were never going to be super big, catering to only that audience. So that's when they did a soft pivot and started focusing on. So they asked themselves, like, what is the area that is not covered very well by companies like Uber Eats, right? So
Mm.
then they realized that the suburbs of American cities do not have great coverage by the players during that time. And the unique thing about the suburbs is suburbs are basically like families. So American families would be typically like 4 members, 5 members, and the average order size of families would be much larger than somebody who is ordering in a city. Typically, people might be like bachelors or just maybe like 2 people or 3 people at most. So that was the insight that they had, and they started focusing on like the suburbs of cities. And in
Suburbs.
suburbs of cities, it's also easy for drivers to find parking, like quickly get out,
Mm.
take the order, and also there were certain advantages with the suburbs. So DoorDash focused on that, and DoorDash has obviously done extremely well. I think during pandemic, their business grew like 15 times, which
Yeah.
was amazing. So they started in 2013. They went public in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And I think yesterday, after the closing bell, they reported their earnings. The earnings results are much better than expected. The stock I see is up 15% today. So their business seems to be doing very good. So that's DoorDash. Do you have anything to add on DoorDash?
No, I think you are spot on with the company profile on that. I think one thing which is very important for DoorDash is, I think, their customer support. I think
Uh-huh.
they have an excellent customer support as well, right? So when you say the stock today went 15% up and all the good news, I think it comes with the service that you provide as a company.
Yes,
So
yes. I have also read that DoorDash's customer support is actually pretty good compared to the other
yeah,
two, and I don't think I have a lot of experience using their customer support, but that itself is a very good signal that I never had the
yeah,
need to actually talk to their customer support. So
yes,
that's DoorDash, and then GrubHub. So GrubHub is also an interesting one. So GrubHub, you didn't know before you started
mm,
researching. I also didn't know that GrubHub is actually almost a 20 years old company. So
yeah,
GrubHub actually started in 2004. So
wow,
long before any of this Uber or DoorDash existed. So that would be like almost after the bubble burst in
Mhm.
2000 2001, is when GrubHub was formed. Initially, it was not a food delivery service, but it used to provide digitized menu for restaurants. So people would use GrubHub to go and check out like what are the items available in a restaurant. Obviously, slowly they changed their business model, acquired many companies, and then eventually become a food delivery service. I believe initially they had GrubHub delivery associates, so they would be on the payroll of GrubHub and not like a
Okay.
gig economy model. So very
Okay.
similar to, I would say, Instacart today, right? Wherein like you
Mm.
have their own delivery drivers, and then eventually they pivoted to something like a Uber Eats or DoorDash, and then GrubHub also went public. I believe in 2014 is when GrubHub went public. It was listed on New York Stock Exchange with the ticker symbol Grub, and but in 2020 there was a acquisition war between Uber and Just Eat Takeaway. From Just Eat Takeaway is a Netherlands-based company, so they they acquired GrubHub in 2000, again like during the pandemic, for I think $7.5 billion.
Wow.
It was a good kind of
Yeah.
buy
Exit
GrubHub.
for.
Yeah, great exit for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, GrubHub is also one of the popular delivery services in the US. Fourth company that we haven't mentioned, and deliberately we did not, is Postmates.
Hmm.
Postmates is another very popular delivery service, but the reason we did not specifically mention Postmates was because Postmates was acquired by Uber in
Uber Eats.
2020. So we thought it is kind of covered under Uber in a way.
Yeah.
Actually, I had not used Postmates ever, but
Hmm.
just for the purpose of this podcast, I installed the application. I was trying it out. It's the UX is very similar to Uber
Yeah.
actually. I don't know if they kind of transitioned to have like a similar user experience or not, but it looked very similar to uh, this thing,
Yeah.
Uber.
But coincidentally, like I used Postmates one time,
Okay.
and I don't know how, but I was doing a search on Google, and it showed up as part of Postmate, and from there I followed on and I ordered the food. I to be honest, I didn't had a lot of, like, I thought I'm ordering at Uber Eats only. I didn't had a lot of deviation from there.
Did they deliver the food?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
Yes,
unlike
they
Uber, they
delivered.
actually delivered the food for you. So when we talk about delivery, right, like there are various perspectives that you can take to look at the food delivery business, right? So we are typically taking the perspective of a customer who is ordering food, but then there are
Mhm.
many other players for running
Yeah,
an app like this, right? So you have the delivery driver who actually brings the food to you. There is the restaurant or the merchant
owner.
who
Yeah,
is selling the food or the item to us, and then there is the fourth player, which is the app itself, because the app also needs to make money, right? So
yeah,
all these four players needs to find value
yeah.
for the business to actually work. So that's why it is such an interesting business, because so there are so many players, right? So yeah, how, like, do you have like any thoughts around that perspective?
I will tell you the biggest thing that comes to my mind is, when you have such a complicated business model, right? And there are four players, and all four want some value out of it. Definitely, the cost of the food that you are going to like order is going to be high, right? That is forgiven. But from the customer perspective, what is important? I think the most important piece over here is uh, the time that the customer is saving, the
Hmm.
time to get the food and the time to prepare the food. So that is the value add these apps will bring to the end customer, right? Because it's a gig economy, and when you said GrubHub was in 2004, there was no gig economy that time,
Yeah.
right? uh, because of the gig economy, I think the drivers can make some money, because you need a pool of driver who will be near the restaurants and in that area, who are ready to deliver, right? Think of an ecosystem which like that. If it didn't exist, it will be an impossible business model,
Yeah.
right? So we have a customer who is going to save time, we have drivers who are ready to do the gig work, right? Now the most important part is the restaurants and the platform itself. And that is the reason, if you see, most of the time there is a service fee involved in all these orders,
Yeah.
right? So there are two ways this is being covered, right? One is the uptick in the menu prices. So
Yeah.
the menu that you see on the app and the menu that you see really in the restaurant, there will be a slight difference over there.
Yeah.
Not very much, but there will be a slight difference. That slight difference comes because the platform is going to charge the restaurant, right, for listing their business on the app. And then there is a service fee involved for running this whole show, right? So I think from restaurant side, they get like more reach to the customers, right? If you
Yeah.
are a restaurant, you are sitting somewhere, you don't have a reach to reach millions of people, right?
Yeah.
uh, so the restaurants have that capability of reaching many people, right? And eventually, you mentioned like the business is doing well, Uber Eats or DoorDash. The reason is because of this service fee, I think. So I think I have a very important and interesting topic to discuss with you regarding this. What do you think of the tipping culture in all this?
Yeah, yeah. Tipping is so important here for these apps because it seems for the drivers to make money, the tip is a very important part in their share of the pie, right? So if somebody does not tip for an order, the driver may not be making enough to feel interested to drive on that platform. So, and I was just reading, DoorDash is apparently testing a feature where they are going to warn the customers that if they do not tip, then they might have a bad experience in terms of their
Yes.
delivery. I don't know like whether it's true, but apparently they are testing it out. So yeah, I think it's a very it's such a tough business because there is a very fine line of how you manage your merchants,
Yeah.
like how much do you charge from them, and then how many drivers do you want on the platform or in a particular area, and then how do you price your products to the end customers, how much promotions do you give, right? You don't want to give a lot of promotions, then you may not make any money or make a lot of loss. But then your competitors might be giving promotions and they might
Yeah.
be stealing customers from you. So it's a very very delicate balance that this app players have to play.
Yes,
And
exactly. Yeah.
go
And
ahead,
that
please.
is the reason, I think tipping is so important.
Yeah.
Because if you try to put the cost either in the like menu items, right, it becomes constant, right? If
Yeah.
you put a charge in service or delivery, it becomes a constant. But if you make it a variable, tipping is the best way to make it variable. You People are going to tip according to their comfort level, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason I brought this topic of why tipping is so important in this, because tipping is the variable component in all of that. So some apps like DoorDash, right? When you order on DoorDash, the tip is automatically included.
Yeah.
You can customize it. Definitely, you can go and customize it. But usually, the recommended tip is already placed into the cart and
Yeah.
order, right? Like when you check out. On the other hand, I think Uber Eats explicitly asks you for a tip. Like
Yeah.
they will give you a recommendation, but they will tell you to input it, right? Like this is what you should tip. Or so I think yeah, the model is basically, I think DoorDash is going with more aggressive on tipping, and I think Uber Eats is more flexible to say customer go and select your own uh, comfort, right, on the tipping.
Yeah. Because I think for Uber they want to keep some consistency of the experience of
Yeah.
ride hailing as well as delivery, right? So when you hail a ride, you don't you typically at the end of the ride
Yeah.
or the next time that you open the app. It's very interesting. I have also seen a trend, and I have personally done this as well, that during the pandemic I was ordering a lot on this food delivery applications, right? And I saw how the price of the same item kept on increasing, and like
Hmm.
increasing significantly in the
Okay.
last 3.5 years. So the price of the item increased, the service fees increased, the promotions decreased, right? So I am seeing like if I'm ordering, let's say, a $20 item on DoorDash, the price of the item is $20, but by the time things like your delivery fees, your
Hmm.
service fees,
Yeah.
tax, and delivery tip gets added,
Mm.
approximately the price would be 80% more, 100% more, depending on
Yeah.
like how much you are tipping. So what I have started doing is a lot of times I just call in the restaurant and I place
Hmm.
the order on phone, like the
Okay.
like older days, and just go pick it up myself,
Hmm.
right? You save that $20 unless
Hmm.
you are in a hurry. There would be times when, let's say, you have guests at home, so you cannot go out,
Yeah.
you have to order, or you are ordering a very large sized order, then it makes a lot of sense. Or it's raining outside, you don't want to go. During those times I'll use the delivery service, but otherwise a lot of times I just prefer to just go pick it up. And it's something that I'm hearing from others as well, that the charges are just so high, just go pick it up yourself.
I it reminded me a incident where a couple of years back there was a heavy snow in our area, and people were going crazy on ordering on DoorDash and Uber Eats. But
Yeah.
the delivery times, I explicitly checked one time, right? The delivery times were like 2 hours, 3 hours. So that is a
Oh, wow.
long wait, right? And yeah, I think like at one point the app said we are not servicing this area at all. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a explicit warning or a message, right? So I think yeah, that is like fun thing. Like I don't know, like that shows the power the app is built with all the features in place to handle all the cases, edge cases, I will say, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think I'd be interested to know the traffic surge on these apps during like a snow or a
Yeah.
Friday evening, Saturday afternoon. Those are their like peak times. So I thought like comparison of ordering the same item from all these three different applications and seeing like which one is more expensive or whose service is better, and what's the breakdown of earnings for each of these stakeholders, like, right, the customer, how much does the customer pay, how much does the driver get, how much does the merchant get, how much does the company get. Yeah, so there is a very good article on Washington Post, which is exactly what I mentioned. So they ordered about $100 worth of delivery across these three apps, and then compared various things like the experience, time to delivery, how much did each of the parties get. This is one of the breakdowns that they provided. So people who are just listening, so we are actually sharing the screen and showing a Washington Post article where you have this breakdown. So if you want to see it, like, make sure you are watching the podcast on our YouTube channel. You have the various breakdowns. So how much did the customer pay, how much did the restaurant get as a payout, how much did the driver get as payout, and then how much did the app company keep. And then on the y-axis you basically have all these various data broken down across DoorDash, GrubHub, Uber Eats, and also if you did like a restaurant pickup, so the option that I was talking about, so you just ordered it on the app and went and picked it up yourself. So uh, the customer cost, it seems like, was lowest on DoorDash and highest on GrubHub. For DoorDash, the amount that was kept by the restaurant was like almost like 40%, only 40% of the total amount paid by the customer. So you can
Went to
imagine
restaurant.
how much of the money that you're paying is actually going to pay like other stuff than the food that you are actually consuming. So in terms of restaurant payout, the least payout happened on DoorDash, and then the most payout happened on Uber Eats, and GrubHub was in the middle. The driver payout, the most payout happened on Uber Eats, and the least on DoorDash. And then the app payout, the most amount was kept by GrubHub, and the least was by Uber Eats, and DoorDash was somewhere in between.
I think it is very clear from this table that uh, Uber Eats is having the most competitive edge here, right? Because if you are a restaurant owner, you get a bigger share. If you are a driver, you get a bigger payout. If you are a customer, you have to pay less, right? And
Yeah,
as an app, they are taking the very smallest chunk from it, right?
yeah,
So looks like Uber Eats is coming here as a very competitive player. And for me, Grubhub is on a side of being a little bit more aggressive in their like they are a little bit aggressive on like pricing, right? So they are charging customer a little bit more. Their payout to restaurants is little bit less. Driver payout is somewhere in between, and the estimated app payout is the highest over there.
yeah.
So I think means I will tell you, like, after looking at this table, I always used to think, I used to compare Uber Eats and DoorDash. I always found Uber Eats to be a little bit better in pricing.
Hmm.
But because of my experience with Uber Eats, I always ordered DoorDash.
Hmm.
So that is like, I think there should be one more parameter in this which says customer satisfaction or customer trust or something like that.
Yeah,
So in that, I think DoorDash would have won in that case. But
yeah,
I think this is a really, really good table, and the data points are very accurate here, which
yeah,
shows the bigger picture, right? So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think
So
I love the pickup, right, restaurant pickup that you mentioned, right? That is one of the that is one of the best ways. There is no driver payout because you do the driving. There is no
yes,
app use, so there is no app payout as well in that.
yeah,
So that is the most economical, but I think there are efforts involved in that.
yeah. It's what is interesting in this table is like you can see the strategy uh, that each of this company is like employing, right? So for DoorDash, they, I think their strategy is to make sure that they are known as the place where they have the customer pays the least amount, right? So
Mhm.
that would mean that obviously their restaurants would also get a less payout, and drivers would also have a less payout,
Yeah.
and then DoorDash would also keep lesser amount compared to like a GrubHub. But I think they're playing the volume game, right? So they
Yes.
want to make sure that there would be a lot of incentive for the restaurant to still use DoorDash, the drivers to still use DoorDash, because their volume will be so high that
Mhm.
even though the profitability will be less, like overall they would make more money. I think that they are playing that game.
That's, yeah.
And Uber Eats is somewhere, I would say, like similar to DoorDash. They are actually keeping the least amount of money for themselves. So uh,
Yeah.
they are probably like losing money, or uh, keeping a very small chunk in terms of profit. And I think Uber can do that because Uber is not only in US. Like in terms of, I think, the presence in maximum number of countries, Uber Eats is the one which is like probably
Mhm.
present in like most
Yeah.
number of countries compared to like GrubHub and DoorDash. DoorDash is only apparently in a very limited number of countries. I think initially it was just present in US, so they wanted to focus on US, and then I think they ventured into a couple of markets, maybe like Canada and Australia. So they want to like crack these markets before going fully international. And interesting thing is like GrubHub is having the maximum payout, so they're probably focusing on profitability and not so much on the volume. So whatever orders they have, they want to make sure that they
Yeah.
keep those orders profitable. All right. So now you know with actually objective data, like if you want the least price, probably DoorDash is the one for you. And if you are driving on the platform, probably like Uber Eats is best for you. And if you
Yeah.
are a restaurant, again, seems like on Uber Eats you can
Uber
keep a
Eats.
good amount of money. All right. Obviously, this is a very like this is from an article. It
Yeah.
does not tell you the truth about like every city, every order. All these things are extremely variable, so it changes based on various factors like where you are, which city you are driving for, what time of the day you are putting the order in, what day of the week, all those factors. So this is kind of
Hmm.
like just a snapshot in time.
And right, all these three services, they have their no delivery services as well, which is a subscription based service. So for Uber, it is
Yeah.
Uber One, right? Uber One is the one where if you subscribe to it, I think it is 9.99 per month, right? So if you do like 3 or 4 deliveries in a month, you cover that delivery cost, right? In $10. And then there is Dashpass for DoorDash. Again,
Yeah.
it is 9.99, and again, it is an amazing service. If you order 3 or 4 times, I think you are good to have that subscription, right?
Yeah.
And I think even there was one for GrubHub. I don't know the name of the program,
I
but
think it is called GrubHub Plus
okay, GrubHub
membership.
Plus. Yeah,
So yeah, that's a very good point. Which is each of them have some type of like a loyalty program or whatever you
yeah,
want to call it. Like, and you pay something every month or every year, and you get lesser price, which is good value if you are somebody
yeah,
who like orders at least like once a week from these platforms.
yeah.
And then there are a lot of loyalty programs wherein like with credit card or with, I remember with Amazon Prime membership, y- I got GrubHub plus membership, I think free for a year. And then
Okay.
with certain credit cards you get GrubHub or like Dashpass for free. So all those are also there. And yeah, like another thing in terms of the features, I think the some unique features would be DoorDash has this thing called Dashmart. So it's like a virtual grocery
Hmm.
mart that you can order from. So I don't know if they actually stock the items themselves. They probably do. They have hubs where they actually have like grocery items. So you are just ordering from Dashmart, and they basically bring the items to you, which is very handy when you if you are ordering like late in the night when the
Hmm.
shops are closed. You can actually use that.
I
For
think, yeah,
obviously for Uber Eats, the great thing is that there are a lot of efficiencies that comes with Uber, right? Because first of all, the software is like infinitely scalable. So there are just so many reusable components that they must have built for Uber that they now can use for Uber Eats.
yeah,
So you are just building it once, but you can like reuse it. So that does not cost you any additional money, or the additional money is like very limited. And then you already have like a bunch of customers, so the network effect is amazing. So customers of Uber, now you can target them for Uber Eats and vice versa. And again, your drivers who you have already onboarded once on Uber, you can easily like have them drive on Uber Eats. So Uber has a very very unique advantage in that respect.
yes, definitely. By the way, they also have something called Uber Rewards.
Yeah.
So if you have Uber Rewards, you can use it for purchase on Uber Eats.
Hmm.
So if you are taking a lot of Uber rides, keep on collecting Uber rewards, and ultimately you go and spend that in Uber
Mm.
Eats, right?
Interesting. I
So
don't think I have used it ever,
okay,
but that obviously makes sense, right? Because
yes,
it's another way for them to like make things more sticky and reason
yeah.
for people to like keep using that. I don't know anything unique or something that is difficult for customers to copy with respect to GrubHub. So because again, like I think both of us are not like extensive users of GrubHub. All right. So what are some of the challenges that you feel these companies, this sector, or like any specific companies are facing?
From challenge perspective, I think definitely order cancellation, or I have heard horror stories about a wrong food being delivered, because you
Hmm.
know what happens at the restaurant. They keep bunch of packets having a sticker on it, and the driver is like the one who goes inside and picks the packets and
Yeah.
delivers it, right? If there is a mistake done on that point by picking a different packet, and the driver is not going to talk to you that did you got a correct order or not, he's just going to leave the food outside and he's going to go
Yeah.
again. Now once you open the food, and if it is a different food, you are stuck, kind of. You are stuck with that food. Definitely you can call the platform, you can complain them and all that, but your dinner, let's say you are with bunch of friends, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole mood of that, the environment that was being created will go down, because there is no food that you wanted to have, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest challenge that I saw was this whole thing is stitched together, but it is not stitched together to the full automation,
Hmm.
where there is very less room for error. There is lot of room for error, right? You can
Hmm.
go to wrong address, you can pick wrong food. So there are a
Yeah.
lot of possibilities over
Or it
there,
takes
right?
a lot of time to deliver the food. You
Yes,
get stuck in traffic, or the driver is at the restaurant but the food is not ready.
ready.
Your SLAs are not met. Yeah, that's I think that definitely is a big challenge for these companies, which is I would like term all of this as like the user experience and the quality of service, end to end quality of service. There is a lot of room for improvement. I think they
Yeah,
have come a long way, but obviously there is a lot to be improved there. So I think execution is key here. Like
yes,
whichever company can execute very well can be the winner. Because if you really look at like most of the features, there is nothing that is very like copyrightable or something that
yeah,
others cannot like copy from you, right? So like it's an app based on your location. Anybody can make that app, right? So I think
yeah,
execution is super important. um Few other challenges I feel is like regulation is a challenge, especially
mm,
in US. I would say like there are laws, and there are like many states which are holding these companies to a very high standard, demanding to make sure that the drivers on their platform get fair pay for the time that they are driving. The companies will continuously face a lot of regulatory challenges, right?
yeah,
So any ride hailing service has those challenges, and similarly I would say like food delivery companies also have regulatory challenges. And the third thing I would say would be path to profitability. So GrubHub, I don't know, because GrubHub is not a US listed company anymore, so I could not get profitability numbers about GrubHub. But both DoorDash and Uber are, they're not like net profitable companies. They're very close to being profitable, but they have huge revenues that run into like billions of dollars, but the eventual profit, they're actually like making loss, right? So yeah, so like to get to profitability will always be like a challenge, and it comes back to your first point about execution and quality of service. So whichever company will be able to execute flawlessly and have less issues, errors, waste, wrong orders being delivered, wrong orders being picked up, will eventually make money. These are the
yeah.
things that I think would be the challenges for these companies.
I will say also a beauty of the platform, because it's a complex problem to solve, right? On the other hand, I think these apps, they don't have a lot of control. Is the restaurant owner being diligent enough to do this work of making
Yeah.
sure if his item is out of stock or not there? Like, I think a bunch of orders goes through and it is not being delivered. That's how I see it, right? So
Yeah. I'm sure they are doing things like they obviously have the rating system and review system. So if you're if the restaurant is not doing a good job in terms of preparing the orders, packing the orders, delivering the orders on time, you will be unhappy as a customer and you'll give that feedback. The rating will go down. If the rating goes down, I think that is taken into consideration when you search for something in terms of the
yes.
position where they list you. So I think all those things will take come into play. But it is such a highly competitive space that you have to like keep raising the bar in terms of the quality of service that you are providing continuously.
And
Um,
think from restaurant owner perspective, if you have these three apps and you have to now manage all these three apps, get the orders
yeah,
from them, it's very difficult, right? It
very
is so
difficult.
difficult.
It's a nightmare. I have seen some busy restaurants. They have like six different tablets open and they are receiving like continuously receiving orders from all these different apps. And I think like there is just one person who is just like responding to all the orders that are
Wow.
coming through.
Wow.
It's a obviously it's a good problem for the restaurant that they have so much order. But
Yeah.
yeah, these are going to be challenges. So yeah, obviously we don't have a lot of visibility on the merchant side, the restaurant side,
Yeah.
because that must be a totally different user experience, a different app that they are using, or the driver side, right?
Or the
So
driver, yeah.
I'm sure like there's a lot of innovation that is happening on both of these as well.
So on this topic, have you heard about cloud kitchens?
Yes, yes, cloud kitchen. I think that's a very interesting space as well. We'll probably do a deep
Yeah.
dive on cloud kitchens in one of our future podcasts. But that's again like another aspect
Beast.
of the whole food
Yeah.
delivery.
So all the problems that we were discussing right now, I think though, like cloud kitchens is trying to solve all those, having more control on the quality,
Yeah,
having better delivery, having one place to like manage all the orders and everything. So there are a lot of things that are happening. Innovation is happening on cloud kitchens.
I'm also seeing like a mix of this food delivery as well as
Mhm.
cloud kitchen. So there is a
Oh,
app
okay.
called Chef,
Yeah.
SHEF. Their model is interesting. So they do not deliver food to you immediately, but it's an app where you can go and you can basically select a day of the week when you want your food to get delivered. So you pre-order, and the cooks who actually cook your food are basically home chefs, right? So it can
Okay.
be you and me. It's a gig economy for cooking. So
Wow.
somebody like you and me could start their own cloud kitchen, I would say. You would say that okay, I'm going to make burger or I'm going to make biryani every Tuesday and Thursday, and then customers can come and subscribe, and then this company, this chef would actually take care of like training you on how to prepare food, keeping all the safety procedures in mind, how to pack food, and then they will take care of the delivery for you, right? So
Oh,
I think they might be already partnering with something like an Uber Eats to actually deliver it. That's a great service. I have used them quite a few times, and you get like a choice of different cuisines. So it's not your restaurant food, but like let's say you want to try out like a Pakistani cuisine or a Japanese cuisine, you'll get all that on chef prepared
nice.
by like home cooks. So that's a very interesting model as well.
Wow.
And
It's
obviously you have
yeah.
things like your Blue Apron, wherein they send you
Yeah.
the items and you cook it yourself. But we can probably like discuss all that in depth in another
In
future.
another future podcast. Yeah. We can talk about what we think which company is in the best position in all this. Um, Even though I love DoorDash, I will say Uber Eats is something that I will bet on.
Hmm.
Um, the reason for that is I really believe in network effect. Uber being a ride hailing company has a huge network effect, right? they know the number of drivers that are in that area, right? So they know where they are because of the ride hailing service that they have. And I think the customer, like we just saw the uh, data points for all these three companies, and they are willing to take less profit and provide more value to all the other partners, right? So I think I will bet on Uber Eats. I think that is the company, but as a customer, I still will continue using DoorDash.
Cool, cool.
Yeah. What about you, Ankur? How do you think about all these three companies, and which one do you think is well positioned?
Yeah, I would say it's like a very close competition, a very hard fought fight between all of these three, because like I think all three are doing a great job. If I had to bet, it's difficult to bet against Uber because it's obviously like a great company. I obviously don't know a lot about GrubHub or the management leadership, so I can't speak much about GrubHub. But I have seen DoorDash being a very very young company, not even 10 years,
Hmm.
is executing it very very well. So I was just looking through their earnings. In spite of competition, they continue to grow at almost like 25% year over year. They are EBITDA profitable already, and looks like they very soon will be profitable, like net profitable as well. So it would be difficult to like not consider DoorDash. And I am a heavy
DoorDash.
user of DoorDash. I use Uber a lot for the ride hailing, but I haven't been using Uber Eats a lot of late. Only like if I have to order something at like midnight or late in the night
Hmm.
is when I would use Uber Eats.
Uber.
DoorDash is really firing on all cylinders. So profitability will be a challenge for all of these companies.
All three of them. Yeah.
Yeah, all three of them. So we'll see. This was a super interesting topic for me. I got to like learn a lot about this food delivery services,
Same
and
here.
this is the 20th episode of the Tech Banter. So we are very proud that we have
Yes.
recorded 20 episodes.
I want to thank all the listeners also. And please, guys, do write a comment or anything if you want any topic to be discussed on this podcast. So that will be helping us.
Check our website, thetechbanter.com. Drop a like, subscribe if you have found this episode useful. We'll see all of you in the next one. Thank you, and bye
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Bye.